now is the time to be proactive and look at what else you can do. Think about, again, put that hat of positivity on and think, well, what can we do? What can we control? It is temporary. Let's look at what we can do. When we get back, let's get prepared.
Welcome to this week's MTD Podcast. We discuss why marketing is more important than ever during these challenging times for us all. I'm Giovanni Albanese, hosting today's show, passionate engineer and a proud member of the MTD team. I'm joined today by two special guests. Firstly, we have the pleasure to be joined by John Wosket. John's a client, but also has become a very good friend. John Wosket is the UK marketing manager at the Hoffmann Group UK, a €1 billion global organisation who last summer launched a wholly owned subsidiary in the UK. He also is an integral member of the UK management team and is currently playing a decisive role in creating and raising awareness of the Hoffmann Group's products and services in the UK marketplace. John graduated with first-class honours in graphic design, but soon progressed into the marketing and management with a results-driven focus. Prior to his appointment at the Hoffmann Group, John gained a wealth of experience in the manufacturing and construction industries in B2B commercial and trade marketing roles. That was a mouthful, John, but welcome to this podcast.
Well, yes, thank you very much, Gio. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to sit and discuss things with you, Gio, as you know.
No, thanks, John. I'm looking forward to this one. Today, we are also joined by Paul Jones, the founder and managing director of MTDCNC. Paul's a true advocate for engineering with over 25 years' experience, from an apprentice cutting metal on the shop floor at Rolls-Royce, which led into his sales career with some of the largest global machine tool companies, and then to starting up MTDCNC, which is probably the most widely recognised platform for promoting engineering, technology and manufacturing around the world today. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much, Gio. Yeah, it's obviously good to hear and good to see that I haven't got as many qualifications as John there. My intro was a little bit shorter, which is probably beneficial to the audience. But yeah, thanks for hosting and thanks for having us.
No, thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time. Today, the podcast, John, is around marketing. You've got a strong marketing background. But firstly, we're recording this podcast remotely from our homes. How are you guys at the Hoffmann Group UK finding this current climate that we're all in?
Well, it's very topical, isn't it? Everything is happening remotely at the moment, which is fun, but also brings its challenges for sure. At the Hoffmann Group, we are, very much like Marines, I say. We've improvised, we've adapted, and we've overcome. We have teams working remotely. We're quite lucky as an organisation that we're all laptop based anyway, so there aren't any desktops to worry about. So it's quite easy for us to work remotely. So it is, there is a lot of crazy stuff going on at the moment, but for all intents and purposes, we are operating quite normally, albeit just from different locations.
And how do you find the manufacturing sector at the minute? You're still dealing with a lot of people?
It's it's interesting that there is quite a mix. Some customers have gone quiet. Some customers have gone crazy busy, and everything's gone through the roof. They don't have a second. They've put on extra shifts, and for me, it's I feel very proud that we're involved in supporting the manufacturing industry at the moment, because certain customers, certain companies have pivoted and changed production lines and all sorts of things to help with the current crisis. And I am really, really proud that we're a part of that in supporting those guys.
Paul, you recently spoke to Tim Paddison on your daily news show about working remotely. What do you think of this, Paul?
Well, it's been a really interesting, few weeks trying to adapt to, I mean, those that watch our stuff and follow us, they'll know that, every day of the week, if not, one of us, two or three of us are out on the road filming in different factories, plastering that all over social media. And of course, that's kind of all stopped. But what hasn't stopped is the content. And for us, it's been about adapting as well, like John said. And we do a kind of a daily news show where we have a guest. And as you quite rightly said, Tim joined us yesterday. And it's just a way of keeping the industry, talking, finding out what other people's experiences are at the moment. And of course, when people are either at home or, not able to do the things that they would normally do, the internet becomes probably one of the things that they lean on the most. So I think it's important at these times for all of us to be online, engaging with content and sharing experiences. And I think to talk to Tim yesterday was great, because I know he'd just been on holiday. I think he'd just come back from the Far East, and he only just managed to get back just before the lockdown, I believe it was. So, he's seen it from over the other side of the world as well. But yeah, challenging times. But it will be interesting to see, and maybe John could answer this. Does he think it will change how people operate going forward?
Sure. I mean, I think, we keep hearing this phrase, don't we? These are unprecedented times. And yeah, clearly they are. But I think when we come out of this, the other side, I think there have been a lot of old-fashioned businesses where they've not been particularly keen on remote working for whatever reason. But I think what a lot of businesses are demonstrating at the moment, and a lot of employees especially, is that, you can work remotely and you can do it quite successfully. So I think, there will be a big push on flexible working when we come out of this the other side. And I think maybe it's slowed everyone down to look at what we're about, what is important to us as people, as individuals. Clearly work is because we get paid, but also it's family time as well. So I think there will be some big changes.
I think it's one of the things that I do think is a negative on it is the team aspect. I think we've got an office where every day of the week there's kind of between 10 and 15 people in there. One focusing or two focusing on social media, a couple editing videos, every aspect, coding websites. And having all of those people in a room does bring new ideas. It does keep morale up. So I do feel that there is from a negative perspective, and I don't like talking about negative things too much, but I do feel that there is, from our side, I feel that, it's better to be collective in an office. But when you can't do it, like you correctly say, you can still crack on and get the work done.
I think it's an important point you make there, Paul. I mean, to be honest, I didn't fully appreciate that some people are not used to working from home. It's completely alien to them, and it took me a while to grasp and understand and comprehend really why people maybe struggle to work from home, because I keep seeing things plastered all over social media, but It is very different, and you'll never replace that face-to-face interaction that you get within an office. Although you can have a virtual crack, as it were, you'll never be the crazy chats that you have around the water cooler or the coffee machine in an office.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, really, John. I think that there are definitely pros and cons, but the only thing that is certain in life is that there will always be change, and it's how we adapt to that change, as we're all finding out in this present moment in time. John, you've been tasked with raising awareness of all the products that the Hoffmann Group offer, which there are many. Cutting tools, work holding, inspection, digital vending solutions, and everything really around the machine tool effectively. Tell me how this task was going for you before this happened and how it's currently going at the minute.
Well, that's a great question, Gio. Yes, we do have a huge, vast range of products and services that we offer. And for me, as you know, we launched last year in August. And my task, whilst Hoffmann UK has always had a very small footprint with a handful of guys on the ground, they were supported by a team in Germany. And obviously, with the full service company coming to the UK in August, my big task is to raise awareness of our brand, our products and services. This is a monumental task because, as you've rightly said, we have lots of products and services. But what I wanted to focus on initially was just the Hoffmann Group as a brand within the UK, because predominantly we're known for cutting tools, and we have, quite a strong reputation in that arena. But we're not just about cutting tools. There is so much more to our business, and we kind of wrap that all up in a system partner approach. So yes, we started the year. We had a plan, which initially was to focus on PPE. We had some exhibitions set for this month and May, which were PPE related. So that was all going to tie in quite nicely. And now, obviously, those exhibitions have been postponed. There's nothing we can do about that. So the plan, as it was, for the most part, will remain in place. But obviously, you have to react to your environment, what's happening around you, and so we've had to change our messaging. It's it's not. I don't believe it is appropriate, really, for us to be focusing on a hard sell at the minute. Clearly, businesses need to make money to survive. We have to make tough decisions. And I've looked at some of the posts that I'd scheduled over the last couple of weeks, and I think, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, this just seems a little bit irrelevant. But you know what, at the same time, it's also important to try and establish a balance. Because yes, whilst these are unprecedented times, we have to remember it is only temporary, and we really must remember that. So I think I feel I've got a responsibility to try and maintain an air of normality where I can. So you'll see a lot of our stuff at the moment is fairly generic, more generic than it would normally be. But that said, messages at the moment are also designed to be reassuring and supportive, to try and maintain this element of normality. And I think we've all got a duty to our colleagues, our customers, our peers, our industry, to get through this. We're all facing uncertainty, but let's be positive about it. Let's be positive together.
I think that's really interesting to hear you say that, John, because it is a time where you've got to sort of almost tread with caution when you're looking at your marketing approach, haven't you? But at the same time, what I believe you've rightly said is you can't kind of switch off. But you've also got to be very tasteful, and you've got to appreciate that, people are in difficult situations. And, even with the government backing, there are businesses out there that are on their knees. And the last thing they're thinking about is improvements in productivity, buying plant. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's wrong for you or any company to keep their profile, where what they've worked so hard to get it to, they want to maintain that and keep it up. And I do genuinely feel, I think at the moment, that this is a period where people will be having a little bit of reflection and thinking about what their next steps are in months and years to come. And I just think to sort of ratchet back and not think that marketing's a part of that at the moment would be I think it would be a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartely agree with that, Paul. And there is a very fine line between trying to get that balance right. None of us have trained for this, but we do the best that we can do in the circumstances that we got. But I do think it's important at this time to try and maintain that normality. But you can do that in many different ways, But I do think it's very important to keep getting messages out there. Because ultimately, everyone is going to remember this year and what's happened. And, I'd like people to look back favourably on Hoffmann and think, well, yeah, they didn't focus on the hard sell. They looked at things differently. They supported manufacturing when it needed it. But again, we will come out of this the other side.
That's brilliant, John. Now it's time for a short break, but when we return, we'll be discussing in more detail with you, John, the importance of marketing during this unprecedented time.
Hoffmann Group UK, a system partner supporting and enabling UK manufacturing and British industry. Suppliers and experts in machining, clamping, metrology, cutting and grinding, hand tools, power tools, workstations and storage, workshop accessories and consumables, PPE and spill control. Hoffmann Group UK, making you more successful by increasing productivity and simplifying the procurement of industrial tooling and consumables. Visit hoffmann-group.com to find out more.
So, John, the importance of marketing during this unprecedented time, why is it more important than ever, really, in your opinion?
Well, I think, businesses exist primarily to make money, don't they? And with everything that's happening right now, there will be a massive financial impact. Local economy, global economy, what that total impact will be, I mean, we just don't know, do we? And I'm sure it will impact a lot of us, professionally and personally, on many different levels. So, kind of, as I touched on earlier, really, I really believe that we've got a duty to maintain this normality and support our industry and everyone in it to make sure that we get through it in a positive way. So whilst I've admitted we're not really going after the hard sell at the minute, but I want to make sure that we are reassuring our customers, we are reassuring our colleagues, and we're supporting everyone during this time. That's what it's all about.
Just out of interest, John, where do you see your and has it changed your areas of marketing, and which ones are the stronger areas? Which are the ones you're putting more focus on? At MTD, obviously, digital is where we started and continue to grow, but we also have printed products. Email marketing. We're a big ambassador for events as well, such as MAC and open houses. Where do you, when you sort of looking at your marketing mix, put most value before this situation and now during this situation?
That's a very good question, Paul. So, I mean, I am all in favour of consistent messages at the right time in a very consistent manner using multiple channels. So the plan at the start, at the end of last year, really was to this year we have our traditional marketing channels. So we increased our print advertising for this year. We had a focus on social and digital. Again, kind of with the launch in the UK, we are at ground zero. Everything has to be built. There is nothing. There was nothing prior to the launch. Everything is new. So there was a good mix across events, traditional media, and obviously a focus in online marketing. Now, what I've seen happen over the last 2 weeks is I've never seen content move so quickly on LinkedIn as it is currently. I mean, it's like the whole nation is permanently on LinkedIn. So I am using that channel predominantly at the moment to get our messages out there. I haven't stopped any print advertising. It's all there because it backs the message up. What I have done is change and amend our adverts that are going into print, into publications that will be coming out to reflect the messages that we're currently putting out on social media. And again, that is more generic and about supporting our industry.
And how would you go about measuring what you do? Is it, people say marketing is just one of those things that you kind of have to do, you should do, trying to measure it too much, you'll just end up going around in circles. But is there an element of that with yourselves? Do you go in a few months' time, look back and go, right, yeah, that was a really good campaign. That one wasn't. This is what we should do going forward. Do you practice anything along those lines?
Absolutely, Paul. It's the one of the most important things to me is making sure that you have a measurement so you can look at results. Obviously, if something works well, you want to do more of it. If something doesn't work, clearly you want to do less of it. And it's about getting that return on the investment and making sure that the board members, when it's a good return on the investment, making sure that they are aware that marketing does work. So from a marketing perspective, it's a little tough for me at the moment, because part of the task of kind of raising the brand awareness and the awareness of our products and services in the UK is it's quite hard to really quantify what that looks like. Whereas the other aspect of marketing that I like to focus on greatly is lead generation. Now that is relatively easy to do, because you acquire or generate leads from a certain source. You can then track that through CRM and apply a pound note value to it. At the moment, obviously, I'm not focusing on generating leads. The focus is around support and building relationships. So difficult to measure at these times. But when we come out the other side, I hope that our messages that have been getting out there have built relationships, and our guys are certainly on the ground building relationships as well. And so we'll hopefully have an all-encompassing item to reflect on.
John, I've certainly seen some of your posts on LinkedIn, and I think they're great. And I think that your positiveness will definitely benefit you when we come out of the other end, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later. There's a massive argument to say that during this time that marketing is more important than ever, because with the amount of people that are currently working from home, they've got a lot more time on their hands to learn, to re-educate, to look at some of this content with a fresh pair of eyes, effectively, look at this content and have the chance to actually study it, to see if it will benefit their organisations, even if it's not now, but when we come out of the other end. This is something that I would like to think that they will start to implement within their organisations. And the fact that people are marketing still, and so heavily, like you mentioned, on LinkedIn with MTD and on all the other different platforms, I think is absolutely imperative, not just for the products, but for the brand, like you say, to kind of brand associated products, to associate them products with the brand, and to put you in a lot stronger position, or everyone that's marketing in a lot stronger position when they come out of this than maybe they were before we went into it. Does that make any sense, John? And would you agree with that?
Gio, to me, it makes perfect sense. Everyone will remember 2020 because of COVID-19. It's never happened before in our lifetime. There was a requirement for our products and services before this. There is a requirement whilst we're in it now. And of course, there'll be a requirement for our products and services after it. So for me, it's important to market during this time, because when we come out the other side, and we will, I want people to think of Hoffmann Group and be remembered that during this, we weren't just a supplier. We were a collective. We were a team. We pulled together to help get things done, and we maintained as much normality as possible for our customers and prospects alike. Ultimately, I'd like to think that people really do see us as supporting and enabling UK manufacturing, because that really is what we're doing.
And as running a business or running a marketing department, one of the things you want to do is you always want to make your business better. And you want to make your business better. You want to do. There's always a list of things that you've got, and you go, "We're going to do that. We're going to build that website. We're going to start looking at those channels. We're going to start practicing those methods." And a lot of the time, it's like kicking the can down the road. Oh, we haven't got time for that. We're focusing too much in the business at the moment to actually step back and work on it. You, as a solution provider, talking to Tim yesterday, it was quite evident to see that, pushing this solution provider element to the Hoffmann Group is massively important, because that's what you do. And I wonder whether there are times now where engineers at the moment are thinking, look, we need to make our business better. We need to improve the way we buy the right tooling to do the right job, to use the right vending solutions, to make sure we don't have any waste. And you wonder whether now they're thinking, actually, this is a time to actually make our business better and look at ways that we can do that if they are quieter. I mean, certainly for us as a company, what I've found interesting is we've actually had quite a few new companies approach us in recent weeks saying, I've actually now got time to look at this. I want to know what I can do online with you now and going forward, because things have changed in my business and I can see that shift. And actually now I want to respond to that. So I'm going to start looking at ways and means that I can do things differently. And I do think there is a lot of that going on at the moment. And I think it would be criminal to actually pull yourself back from that and go, I'm not going to market what I do at the moment because I don't think people want it. I don't think they need it. But I actually think that this is the time people are thinking, right, God, am I going to get that to market now? Certainly with events being cancelled, certainly with, open houses that were happening, not happening anymore, certainly with salesmen not being able to knock on doors, not being able to go in factories. There's suddenly this kind of like, right, well, I've still got kit to sell. I've got to think of ways of marketing it, and that might be for a certain period going forward as well. So I think this is a really, and you'd expect me to say, it's no secret we work in a marketing world like you do, John, but it is for me, I just think it's a crime to almost turn that off at the moment. I think, tasteful, good measured marketing, this is the most important and impactful time.
Absolutely, Paul. I mean, you're absolutely spot on with that, and it's interesting to see how individuals, how companies, how businesses are reacting. Because it is hard that there are, during lockdown, there are very few avenues that you can go down to promote, your products, your services, and promote your business. So surely anyone during this time who thinks, well, actually, I've got a bit of spare time, depending on the individual, now is the time to be proactive and look at what else you can do. And I would encourage businesses instead of saying, well, we can't do this or we can't do that, think about, again, put that hat of positivity on and think, well, what can we do? What can we control? It is temporary. Let's look at what we can do. When we get back, let's get prepared.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I think it's really scary for everyone. I think, if people are not scared a little bit, they'd probably be lying. But I also think that, if you remain still, you're going to move backwards. And you need to always stay positive and try to move forward the best way that you possibly can. We've seen a post recently on LinkedIn from High Spec. They invested in a robo job recently, automation solution, and now they're making NHS parts 24/7. And it'd be interesting to see other companies that didn't make that investment in products such as automation, just as one of many examples, that are thinking to themselves now, bloody hell, I really wish I'd have invested in that automation, and maybe this will be the thing that makes them look into it when they come out of the other end. And a little bit similar with your digital products, John. Digital vending is another product that people sometimes can overlook and think, wow, do I really need that? But the efficiency gains are absolutely massive. Can you just tell us a little bit about some of the digital products and the remote products that you have to offer the marketplace, John?
Yeah, sure, Joe. I mean, we have a whole range of products and services. Now, at the moment, obviously, we are serving our customers as best we can using the technology we've got. So we're doing a lot of remote consulting, if you like, through Teams and Skype. When we need to get up close and personal to a machine, we can do that through FaceTime. So we can still operate. During this, it's not so much of an issue. And whilst there is an element of downtime, clearly as a business, we are about increasing productivity and driving efficiencies through. So the whole VEN solution with our Garant Tool 24 system is is brilliant because it not only helps maintain control, it gives complete transparency. And when you've got companies that are pivoting to help the NHS, they need a solution like that to be more efficient and to be quicker, because everything at the moment is about being agile as a business, and you've got to be agile to be able to turn things around quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, I think some of the products that you just talk about, it's perfect, isn't it? This is a time and place to start, for people to embracing and looking at things like that. I mean, on the automation side, what you say, Gio, is very true. High Spec Engineering, a company that I spoke to actually on our daily program about, it must have been about 2 weeks ago, just when this lockdown started. And he wasn't actually doing parts for the medical industry at that time, but he had been approached about them. But he was having issues with, one worker was off, in self-isolation, and someone else was this and 2 meters apart. But of course, because he's got these, because his factory's automated, all of those factors aren't a problem. So he then quoted for work, got it, was more competitive than others because he'd got the automation. He didn't have the overhead of the operators. He didn't have to be concerned that the operators may not be there because the robots and everything was going to do the work. So, for him, suddenly looks at it and goes, this for me was the right move. And if I had the chance, I'd embrace it even more now. So people that are practical, people that are pushing automation and digitization and things like that, this is the time to do that, because companies will be looking at ways of thinking, there's risks in my company that I won't be able to compete if I don't have those things because people aren't here. So all of these things matter, and it couldn't be more of a key time.
I totally agree, Paul. I think that, this is the time where the barriers to entry will effectively be broken, because I think it'll make people realise, in my opinion, that it's not a luxury item anymore. Investing in that latest technology is absolutely imperative. And when we come out of it, it's going to be a case of, you've got to invest in it, or unfortunately, maybe you might not survive. And just before we go, we're getting close to the end of this podcast, but I'm really looking forward to get out of this situation, really, John, to kind of look further down the educational path that we've got in mind with Hoffmann Group UK and MTD in regards to collaborations that we're looking to start up with educational institutes, and that's going to be something to really, really look forward to, John.
Absolutely, Gio. As you know, chomping at the bit. So I really do look forward to coming out of this the other side and enjoying a beer first and foremost with you, I think. And then we can embark on a journey to educate the nation.
Brilliant. Any last thoughts from you guys before we stop this podcast?
I was just going to say that Gio prefers wine to beer. I'll have a beer, John.
Well, I'll take whatever comes, Paul, to be fair.
Well, I can't wait. I really can't wait either.
Thank you, John, for today. I've enjoyed it, and I think for me, in summary, I again, I say people would expect me to say it, but we're doing it at the moment. We're actually investing more in our marketing material at the moment than we have ever done before, because I just know from seeing the stats on our website, the stats on our social channels, there's over 20% more activity and engagement on our channels at the moment than there was 2 weeks ago. So that's why we'll continue to invest more in that side at this current time, but tastefully, as you would expect.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, John. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's definitely a challenging time for us all at the minute, so keep positive and stay safe. Let us know what you think about the MTD podcast, and like I said, subscribe to the podcast from your iPhones or go onto the MTD website, and you can find all of the previous podcasts on there to enjoy and listen to whilst you've got that time to do so. So from us, and until next week, by the way, the podcast frequency has increased 3 times a week now, Friday, Monday and Wednesday. And from us, thank you very much for listening to the MTD Podcast.
Thanks
Thanks for listening to the MTD Podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.